Well, well, welcome back, everyone. How are you guys? I hope better than you've ever been. If you clicked on this video and you're listening, I want to thank you very much. I appreciate you choosing to spend some time, just a little, to listen to these people's unfortunate encounters. Speaking of encounters, if you've had one of your own and you would be interested in sharing it here on the channel, please reach out to me and send me an email. I'd love to hear your story. You can find my email address in the description of this video. As the last couple of uploads, this one will be much the same. You guys seem to be enjoying the random compilations of multiple encounters in one video, so that's exactly what I did here tonight. Now everyone strap in, and let's get into tonight's encounters. Everyone grab a drink, lock your doors and windows, hit the lights, and let's get started. First encounter. Reels. The very first thing I want to say is please. I do not want my name used, and I'd appreciate it if you'd left out any identifiers that may point to who I am or where I work specifically. I'm still active duty, and I do sometimes enjoy my job. But what I'm about to tell you is something that could jeopardize that if anyone finds out who I really am. But I'm willing to take the chance just to get this information out there and maybe help someone else. I will keep things as brief as I can, and I think everything will be okay. I do work for the United States Border Patrol, and I've been stationed in southern Texas for the past 11 years. All of this happened in 2018. I will not name the exact sector, but it's somewhere along the Rio Grande in an area we monitor heavily due to foot traffic and cartel activity. It was late, around 2:30 in the morning. I was out alone on a solo patrol in my unit. It had been a slow shift. It was hot as hell and muggy, as to be expected for the location. I was driving one of the access roads that runs near the edge of a stretch of government-owned ranch land. It's very isolated out there, as you could expect. There's no structures, no lights, just mesquite, cactus, scrubland, and fences for miles. I parked my unit to take a break and stepped out to stretch my legs. It was dead quiet. After a couple of minutes, I started hearing what I first thought were footsteps in the brush. The steps sounded identical to a person that was trying to be quiet, but not doing a very good job. And as I call my profession, it's a professional game of hide and seek. This is actually pretty common to find yourself in a situation like this. I assumed it was either a migrant or a scout from one of the groups that sometimes come through. I turned off my truck lights and just sit there in the dark listening, trying to pinpoint exactly the direction it was coming from. The weird thing is, though, the sound didn't follow any pattern of someone walking normally. It was very inconsistent, like they would stop for a long period of time and then take a couple slow steps again. It definitely made me feel like I was in immediate danger. I could tell that this entity, being human or otherwise, was perfectly aware of my presence and my location as well. I radioed in to let my partner know I was checking out movement. Then I took my flashlight and started walking toward where the sound had come from. I picked up some eye shine about 30 yards from the road. This wasn't regular, normal animal eye shine. These eyes were very high up. I would say about 6 feet, around the same height as me. And they were also spaced way too far apart to be any animal I was familiar with. And no, I didn't think it was a bear. We don't get bears down here. The biggest animal I could think of would be maybe a hog, but hogs just don't stand like that. I lifted the light higher, and that's when I picked up the silhouette. This thing was standing behind a patch of scrub, sort of blocked, partially, but I could see the top of its head and the outline of what looked like a snout. It was like looking at a dog, but huge. The ears were tall, pointy, the shoulders were as wide as all outside. It didn't move like an animal should either. This thing stood as still as a statue, actually so still that I started to think that it was some movie prop, or something that someone had left there for a prank. It was just standing there, looking at me. I kept my light on it, and about after 5 seconds it finally moved. It turned its head very slowly, like it was confused and trying to figure out what I was. It took one huge step backward and disappeared into the brush without making a sound. And that thing had to weigh well over 300 pounds, and it moved like it was just gliding. It was like it was just standing on an escalator. I stood there for a minute, not really sure what had just happened. I finally backed out slowly and got into my unit and drove out of there. I didn't report any of it to my supervisor, and there's a reason why. I had no idea what to say or how to say it, but I will tell you this. In this line of work, I've heard many, many stories about seeing these things, or something that looks very similar to what I witnessed. This is not something new or something rare in this part of the country. And I'll also tell you, when you see something like this, you are almost forbidden to speak of it. That kind of talk doesn't go far in this line of business. It's a career ender. I've seen it happen firsthand. But I've never forgotten it, and I'm pretty sure I won't. I haven't returned back to that stretch at night since it happened. I always trade with someone if I'm assigned that side. You can call me a coward if you want. I call it staying alive. Those things are everywhere out there. I can promise you that. Use this if you want to. Just, again, don't use my name, and please be brief on what you say. Thanks for reading. Everyone please watch your backs. Nothing is as it seems. You are being duped. Anonymous. Second encounter. Hello, Reels. I don't really know who will believe this or who won't, but I'm going to write it anyway and leave it up to you. I just can't do it anymore. I've been carrying this around for way too long without telling anyone. I don't want to take this to my grave. Back in 2006, I lived in Tennessee and used to drive up into Kentucky every now and then to fish. I would just take these short day trips when I had the time. I wasn't much of an outdoorsman, I'm still not, but that won't stop me from enjoying being near the water. I absolutely love it. Even after what happened. One weekend in May, I decided to drive up to LBL. I'd heard about it from a guy that I worked with. He said it was not too crowded and very peaceful, and he had some good fishing spots on the Kentucky side. He had made me a makeshift map and showed me a few of these spots that I could fish, spots that he had used himself many times before. I got there around lunchtime and I didn't really catch much. I mostly just drove around exploring, taking some pictures, and enjoying myself. Around 4 or 5 in the evening, I started heading back toward the south entrance on a small side road. I think it was near Energy Lake or one of those forest roads off the main drag. As I was driving, I came up on something strange. And strange is putting it mildly. At first it looked like it was just a log that had fallen across the road, but as I got closer, I realized that the log was actually moving and covered in black fur. I slowed down and this thing was now crouched on the right-hand side of the road just near the trees. It was dark. I mean, the fur was so black that it almost looked shiny. It had a very strange posture the way it was crouching. It looked like a dog squatting on its back legs. I slammed on the brakes, and I was probably 20 yards away from it at this time, and I watched this thing snap its head at lightning speed in my direction. We locked eyes at the same exact time. It's like time itself stood still. Its eyes were wide, yellow, and didn't look like a normal animal. There was something in them: awareness, intelligence, and maybe aggression. It slowly stood up. It rose up from the crouch position, very smooth, onto two legs. This was easily the biggest animal I've ever seen to this day. I drive a Chevy Tahoe, or I did at the time, and this thing was easily eye level with the top of it, if not taller. Its chest was thick and narrow at the waist. Its body shape was that of a wedge. The arms, its front limbs, hung down lower than its back legs. They were way longer. It looked like a cross between a wolf and a man. Some people would call that a werewolf, I suppose. That's what I call it, anyway. This thing had somewhat of a short snout. Its neck was so thick that it didn't even look like it had one. Its teeth were visible even when it had its mouth mostly closed. Definitely something that you would not want to get close to were those teeth. Or the visibly large giant human hands that this thing had. This was an ultimate predatory killing machine. I did not wait around to see what this thing wanted. I put the car in reverse and backed down the road until I could turn around without getting stuck in the ditch. I don't know if it followed. I didn't even look. I never saw it again. I've never went back to LBL again either, not even once. I still live in Tennessee, still love to fish, but I stick to places I know and places where there are more people around. Whatever that thing is, or wherever it comes from, I don't ever want to see it again. It puzzles me that I hear some folks say they want to have an encounter with a dogman. I can assure you that you do not know what you're asking for. Thanks, Reels, for giving us a platform to share this. I hope you decide to put this in one of your videos, but if not, I thank you for your time anyway. You can use my first name if you want, that's totally fine. My name is Chris. Nashville, Tennessee. Third and final encounter. Real adventures, I hope you're doing well. I'll be completely honest to start out. I told myself I would never be a person who would write into a show or a YouTube channel. I've always liked to keep things to myself, especially when it comes to this type of subject. Me and my daughter listen to your channel together, and by the way, I'm from Alaska. Something just kept gnawing at me the more I listened to people sending in their encounters. Truthfully, I've made myself forget about it, and I hadn't thought about it in years. Either way, I'm here, and I'm just going to go ahead and get through this. My name is M, or you can just call me M. I live in Valdez, Alaska. I have been here my whole life, minus a couple years down in Anchorage when I was younger. I'm 58 now. I work maintenance for a school, mostly snow removal, heating, checking lights, repairs, small things mostly. This happened in the winter of 2014, early January, if I remember correctly. I never told anyone the full story except for my brother, and I never told him all of it. He didn't seem to believe me anyway, and I didn't want him to think that I was losing my mind. Anyway, it was a weeknight, maybe Tuesday or Wednesday, I can't remember for sure. We'd gotten a light storm that day. Not a blizzard, just a steady snow and some wind. I had stayed late to make sure everything was salted and cleared for the next morning. I didn't head out until just after 9 p.m. Normally, I would take the main road home, but when I work late like that, I usually like to cut through an old service road that runs behind the industrial lots and loops back around toward my subdivision. It's quicker, even if it's a bit rough. The road runs along a stretch of forest at the base of a ridge. It's not deep woods by any means, just a buffer of trees that keeps the wind off the lots. I've driven that road more times than I can count, and I've seen my share of wildlife. Moose, bear, even the odd lynx darting across. I know what's out there. That night I didn't see any other cars. There were no animals, just fresh snow on the ground and the wind hitting the truck in light bursts. It was quiet. My headlights were cutting through it, and visibility wasn't that great, but it wasn't terrible either. I was only doing 25, maybe 30 miles per hour, just taking it easy, when out of nowhere, right in front of me, this huge thing stepped out of the trees on the left side of the road. Now, when I say right in front of me, it was probably 30 to 40 feet ahead of me. And as I said, visibility wasn't the greatest, so at first I thought it was a moose, because of how tall it was. But I quickly noticed the body shape was just not that of a moose. It was standing up straight like a human. This thing's shoulders were massive. Its arms were really long, but it wasn't a person. There was something wrong about all of it, the way it looked, the way it moved. It moved with this twitchy type movements, like it was having spasms. It was leaned forward and kind of reminded me of an older person that has a hunched forward posture. It was almost like it was on the verge of dropping down on all fours at any second, kind of like it was about to fall on its face. It didn't cross the road, it just stepped out about halfway. And as soon as the headlights caught its eyes, it turned toward my vehicle and began to stare. As soon as it saw my car, it backed up into the trees again, trying to hide. This whole interaction lasted maybe 4 to 5 seconds, but that was long enough that I could see its face. It wasn't super clear, but it was enough to know that this appeared to be a dogman. It had a canine, very long canine snout. It had pointed ears like a wolf, covered in super thick gray fur. It looked like a wolf, but not on all fours. I know how crazy this all sounds to someone that don't believe these things exist. I know what it sounds like. I'm saying, but I also know what I saw. I'm telling you, these things are out there. Once it moved off the roadway, I took off and kept going. I just kept driving and didn't even look in my mirror until I was under the first street light near my neighborhood. Even then, I didn't feel safe at all. My stomach was tied in knots the entire night. I actually sat in my truck in the driveway for almost 20 minutes before I could even get out and make my way inside. That was over 10 years ago, and I still remember every single second of that night. I never told anyone but my brother. Well, I didn't tell him the full story. I'm telling you the full story now. I mean, who would I have told? People tend to not take this subject very seriously, and it's usually not good for your reputation, if you know what I mean. I even wanted to convince myself that it was some prankster in some type of hairy suit with a werewolf mask. But there's just no way that a person would be out there in that weather in a costume, especially being able to physically move like that. I don't think it's possible. I still work at the school. I still do my job. I still shovel snow like I always did. But I take the long way home now, every time. I avoid that road like the plague. Anyways, I figured I'd send this in after all these years. I don't care if you use my name or not, or you can use M for short, whichever you prefer. I just know there's a lot of people out there like me that has seen something like this. and they've kept quiet like I did for far too long. If you've had something like this happen to you, you need to put it out there. Thanks, Reels. You are the true legend. M. Friends, legends, family. I want to thank you all for joining me here tonight, and most of all, I want to thank all three of these individuals for sending in their encounters. You guys are absolute legends, and it was a true honor to narrate your stories. I hope you guys approve of my narrations. Tonight's first encounter kind of threw me for a loop. Now, mind you, I've heard many stories that come from Border Patrol agents, allegedly. I knew the Dogman activity was pretty heavy in that area of the U.S., but I guess I never expected to actually receive an email myself from an individual working in that field. I was also pretty happy about receiving a second Alaskan encounter. That's number 2 for Alaska, and I'm still waiting on encounters from Australia and the UK to come in. I know some of you listening from those countries have had some sort of encounter with these things. I just hope that one day I can convince you to come forward. Even if it's not on this channel, please tell someone what happened. Thanks to all of you for sending your encounters. As for the rest of you that are still here listening, I cannot thank you enough for all the kind words and support that you continue to give to the channel. It's truly amazing, and you guys are a fantastic group of people. The best. Unfortunately, though, that's going to do it for this upload, guys. I'll be back as soon as I can with some more encounters. If you're new here, please consider subscribing to the channel, as it's free and it only takes a second of your time to click that button. It would help a ton. Also, if you would, hit the like button and possibly share the video. All these things will help the channel get out to more people and continue to grow. A huge shout out to all the channel members. You guys know who you are. Legends like you are the actual backbone of this entire channel. I cannot thank you guys enough for all of your help. Again, it's not a mandatory thing. I'm not doing that. Nothing will be hidden behind a paywall. But if anyone is interested in helping to support the channel, the link to the channel membership will be in the description, along with my email address. Thank you in advance for any help. Until next time, my friends, watch over your loved ones, keep your head on a swivel, and as always, good night.